The American handed me my father's car, but the mechanic uncovered a secret that shattered everything I thought I knew about him, I whispered, my voice trembling as I gripped the keys. Ethan, be careful what you find, Mom warned, her eyes haunted, as if she already knew the truth would break me. If you're gripped by this story, consider following for more heart-wrenching journeys like this one. Your support fuels these tales. The day I received my father's 1977 Camaro Z28 was the same day I realized I never truly knew the man who raised me. Dad had been gone for 3 months. Lung cancer took him too quickly for proper goodbyes. Mom handed me the keys with tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling as she pressed the cold metal into my palm. He wanted you to have it, Ethan, she whispered, voice cracking under the weight of unspoken memories. Said you'd know what to do with it. But what if I don't, Mom? I snapped, frustration bubbling up. What if I ruin his precious car? She flinched, her silence louder than any reply, as if my doubt was a betrayal of Dad's faith in me. I didn't. Not really. The car had been Dad's sanctuary, his weekend project for as long as I could remember. Growing up, I'd watched him from the garage doorway as he meticulously cleaned each part, his calloused hands moving with surprising gentleness. Across the engine, he'd invite me in occasionally, try to teach me, but my teenage rebellion had no room for wrenches and motor oil. Now, I'd give anything to go back and listen. You never cared about his world, did you? My older sister Leela had sneered years ago when I skipped another garage session. Her words stung now, a reminder of the wedge I'd driven between me and Dad. The Camaro sat in my parents' garage under a beige cover, untouched since Dad's diagnosis 6 months earlier. I pulled the fabric away slowly, revealing the polished, deep red paint that Dad had applied himself. The chrome gleamed even in the dim lighting, a testament to his perfectionism. Running my fingers along the hood, I felt a lump form in my throat. How many hours had he spent out here alone, with his thoughts and this machine, while I was too busy with my own life to drop by? I don't know the first thing about maintaining this, I admitted to Mom, who stood in the doorway, arms crossed as if holding herself together. Your father kept meticulous records in the glove compartment. Everything you need to know is there, she said, attempting a smile. Besides, he always said the car would outlive us all if properly cared for. He said that about you too, she added softly, her eyes distant, that you'd outshine him if you just tried. Her words hit like a punch, stirring guilt I hadn't faced in years. I opened the driver's side door and slid into the leather seat that still held the impression of my father's frame. The familiar scent of Old Spice and leather polish enveloped me, Dad's signature fragrance. The steering wheel felt smooth under my touch, worn in exactly the places where his hands had gripped it thousands of times. I closed my eyes, half expecting to hear his voice telling me to check my mirrors before starting the engine. You're sitting in his throne now, Mom said from behind, her voice heavy with meaning. Don't let it swallow you whole. When I turned the key, the Camaro roared to life with a deep, throaty growl that seemed to echo my own grief. Powerful, raw, and unrestrained. I sat there for several minutes, just listening to the engine purr, feeling simultaneously closer to Dad and painfully aware of his absence. The glove compartment contained a leather-bound maintenance log, each entry written in Dad's precise handwriting. Oil changes, spark plug replacements, tire rotations, all documented with military precision, complete with dates and mileage. Flipping through the pages, I noticed something unusual. Small symbols drawn in the margins of certain entries. They looked like some kind of personal shorthand, meaningless to anyone but him. What are these, Mom? I asked, holding up the log. She paled, her lips tightening. I don't know, Ethan, but your father, he kept things close. Too close. Her cryptic response only deepened the mystery. I made a mental note to ask her again later. Driving the Camaro home that evening was surreal. Every stoplight became an opportunity for neighbors to stare and nod in recognition. That's Robert Sullivan's car, their eyes seemed to say. Now his son's driving it, the weight of that inheritance pressed down on me with each mile. My apartment's underground parking garage wasn't worthy of such a vehicle, but it was all I had. The Camaro seemed out of place among the practical sedans and compact SUVs, like a thoroughbred forced to share a stable with pack mules. I covered it with the same beige cloth and promised myself I'd take better care of it than I had my relationship with Dad. That night I dreamed of him. We were driving along the lakefront, windows down, the sound of the engine harmonizing with the crash of waves. He was smiling, a rare sight in his later years, and pointing at something on the horizon I couldn't quite make out. When I turned to ask him what he was showing me, the passenger seat was empty. I woke up with tears streaming down my face. The phone rang at 3 a.m. Lila's voice sharp on the other end. "You're playing with his ghost, Ethan. That car's trouble. Sell it before it ruins you." I hung up, her warning echoing in the dark, but I couldn't let go. The next morning, I called in sick to work and spent hours studying the maintenance log. Each entry revealed a different facet of my father: his precision, his patience, his profound knowledge of this machine. Between the lines of technical jargon, I glimpsed the man I had been too busy to know. The strange symbols in the margins remained a mystery, though they appeared most frequently around entries dated during my high school and college years, the period when our relationship had been at its most strained. A sticky note fell from the log, Dad's handwriting scrawled across it. "Forgive yourself, Ethan. I already have." My chest tightened. When had he written this, and why did it feel like he knew I'd find it now? 2 weeks later, the check engine light came on. Despite my newfound dedication to maintaining the car, this was beyond my limited capabilities. The thought of taking Dad's pride and joy to a random mechanic filled me with dread, but I had no choice. I called Mom for advice. "Take it to Marcus's on Cedar Avenue," she said without hesitation. "Your father wouldn't trust anyone else with that car." "And don't tell Lila," she added, her tone sharp. "She's been asking about the car, Ethan. She thinks it's hers by right." The revelation stunned me. Lila wanted the Camaro? Marcus's automotive turned out to be a small, immaculate garage with vintage car posters decorating the walls. The man himself, a grizzled veteran with forearms like tree trunks, emerged from beneath a lifted Corvette when I pulled in. "Sullivan's Camaro," he said, wiping his hands on a rag as he approached. It wasn't a question. "Been expecting you to bring her in. Robert always said you'd be driving her someday." The casual reference to conversations I'd never been privy to stung. "You knew my father well." Marcus nodded solemnly. 20 years. He brought this beauty in every 3 months like clockwork, even when nothing needed fixing. Said it was preventative care. He circled the car slowly, eyes scanning every inch with reverence. "Man loved this car almost as much as he loved talking about you." I blinked in surprise. "He talked about me? All the time." "Your medical school graduation, that surgery you performed last year, how you bought your mom that trip to Greece for her birthday." Marcus smiled at my bewilderment. Robert wasn't one to show his feelings, but believe me, that man was proud of you. "He also worried about you," Marcus added, his voice lowering. "Said you carried too much guilt, something about a fight you two had years ago. Ever patch that up?" I froze. The memory of our last argument, a screaming match over my career choice, flooding back. I shook my head, unable to speak. I swallowed hard, fighting the emotion rising in my throat. Dad had never been overtly affectionate or free with his praise. The thought of him bragging about me to his mechanic, while I assumed he was disappointed in my lack of interest in cars, felt like a cruel cosmic joke. "The check engine light came on," I managed to say, changing the subject. "I'm not sure what's wrong." Marcus's expression shifted to professional concern. "Leave her with me for the day. I'll call when I know something." I handed over the keys reluctantly, feeling as though I was abandoning a family member in a hospital. Marcus must have noticed my hesitation. "She's in good hands," he assured me. "Robert taught me everything I needed to know about this particular lady. Just don't let your sister near it," he muttered, half to himself. Robert warned me she'd try to claim it. My stomach churned. Lila's obsession with the car was deeper than I'd realized. The call came 4 hours later. Marcus's voice sounded strange over the phone, subdued, yet somehow excited. "You need to come down here," he said without preamble. "There's something you should see." "Is it serious? What's wrong with the car?" "Nothing that can't be fixed," Marcus replied cryptically. "But I found something while I was checking the fuel line. Something I think your dad meant for you to find." The drive to the garage in my mundane company car felt painfully slow. My mind raced with possibilities. Had Dad hidden money in the car? A letter? Some explanation for the symbols in the maintenance log? Lila's text buzzed through. "You're digging into things you shouldn't, Ethan. That car's mine. Dad promised." I ignored it, but her words gnawed at me, sowing doubt. Marcus was waiting outside when I arrived, smoking a cigarette that he quickly extinguished as I approached. "It's in the trunk," he said, leading me to the Camaro, which was now parked in a corner of the garage away from the other vehicles. I was checking everything thoroughly, like your dad would have wanted, and noticed the carpet in the trunk didn't sit quite right. He opened the trunk and pointed to a small, almost imperceptible bulge in the carpet lining. "Most people wouldn't notice, but your dad modified this car in ways only someone intimately familiar with it would recognize. This isn't factory standard." Marcus carefully peeled back the carpet to reveal a small metal compartment built into the frame. A hidden safe of sorts. A keypad with numbers 0 to 9 was embedded in the metal. "I've never seen this before," I admitted, staring at the sophisticated addition. "Did Dad install this?" "Must have," Marcus nodded. "And recently, too. This wasn't here the last time he brought it in for service about 8 months ago." I stared at the keypad, my mind racing. "Did he ever mention a code or password to you?" Marcus shook his head. "Robert was private about some things, but he did tell me once that everything important in his life could be unlocked with the right combination of understanding. He also said you were the only one who'd figure it out," Marcus added, his eyes piercing. "Not Leela. Never her." The mention of my sister sent a chill down my spine. What had Dad hidden from her? The cryptic statement sounded exactly like something Dad would say. I thought about the mysterious symbols in the maintenance log. Could they be connected to this? "I need to see that maintenance log again," I said suddenly. Marcus reached into the car and pulled it from the glove compartment. I flipped through it frantically until I found the pages with the strange markings. Looking at them more carefully now, I realized they weren't random at all. They were numbers stylized to look like mechanical parts. Each symbol represented a digit. "It's a code," I whispered. He was leaving me a trail of breadcrumbs. I studied the sequence of symbols that appeared most frequently. 10,241,985. It took me a moment to recognize it. October 24th, 1985. My birth date. With trembling fingers, I punched the numbers into the keypad. Nothing happened. "That's not it," I murmured, frustrated. "What else would he use?" Marcus watched me silently, respectfully, keeping his distance during this intensely personal moment. I tried other combinations. Dad's birthday, Mom's birthday, their anniversary date. Nothing worked. The safe remained stubbornly closed. My phone buzzed again. Lila. "Stop messing with my inheritance, Ethan. You'll regret it." Her threat fueled my determination. This was Dad's gift to me, not her. Then I remembered something. A fragment of conversation from one of our rare fishing trips together when I was 12. Dad had been teaching me to tie fishing knots, his patience surprising as my clumsy fingers failed repeatedly. "Some things in life have a specific sequence, Ethan," he'd said. "Miss a step and everything falls apart, but get it right and it holds stronger than you'd ever believe possible." On a hunch, I tried the date of that fishing trip. 6,152,008. The mechanism clicked, and the compartment slid open. Inside was a small leather pouch, and a sealed envelope with my name written on it in Dad's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened the letter first. "Ethan," it began. "If you're reading this, then two things have happened. I'm gone, and you've started to understand that Camaro is more than just a car. It's the story of us. The story I was too proud and too stubborn to tell you while I could." The letter went on to explain that the pouch contained his wedding ring and his father's pocket watch, treasures he wanted me to have but couldn't bring himself to give me in person. More importantly, he explained the symbols in the maintenance log. Each represented a significant moment in my life that he'd been working on the car during dance recitals, soccer games, school plays, events I'd always assumed he'd missed because he preferred to be in the garage. "The truth is," he wrote, "I was scared. Scared of not being the father you deserved. Scared of saying the wrong thing. So I retreated to what I understood, this car. But know this, every minute I spent under that hood, you were on my mind. Every improvement I made, I imagined one day teaching you. I was building this car for you, son, long before I knew I was running out of time. Keep this from Lila, Ethan. She's angry, and I've failed her in ways I couldn't fix. This is yours alone." The final paragraph broke me. I was there for more than you knew when you thought I was just tinkering in the garage. I was often sitting in this car listening to recordings of your debate competitions or that graduation speech you gave. Ask your mother about the small recorder she gave me every time I couldn't attend something important. I never missed a moment, Ethan. I just experienced them in my own broken way. By the time I finished reading, tears were streaming down my face. Marcus had discreetly moved to the other side of the garage, giving me privacy. The pouch contained exactly what Dad had described, his worn gold wedding band and a vintage pocket watch that had belonged to my grandfather. What Dad's letter didn't mention was the small USB drive also nestled in the pouch. A second envelope marked "For Ethan Only" held a photo of Dad and me at that fishing trip. My grin wide as he tied a knot. On the back, he'd written, "You were enough." When I plugged the USB into my laptop that evening, I found dozens of audio files meticulously labeled with dates and events. My 5th grade science fair, my high school graduation, my medical school commencement. My voice, younger but recognizable, filled my apartment as I sat surrounded by the artifacts of my father's silent love. The Camaro became more than an inheritance after that day. It became a conversation with my father that continued long after his voice had been silenced. Every time I changed the oil or replaced a part, I felt his presence guiding my hands. The engine's rumble became his voice, telling me stories I'd never heard him share in life. But Lila's threats didn't stop. She cornered me at Mom's house a week later, her eyes blazing. "You stole my future, Ethan. That car was my ticket out." I stood firm, clutching the pouch, knowing Dad's truth was mine to protect. 6 months later, I took Mom for a drive along the lakefront, the same route from my dream. She sat quietly in the passenger seat, occasionally touching the dashboard like she was caressing Dad's hand. "He loved this car," she said softly as we watched the sunset from an overlook. "But never as much as he loved you." "I know that now," I replied, my hand resting on the leather pouch that now lived in my pocket. "I just wish I had known it sooner." She smiled, the afternoon light softening the grief lines on her face. "He knew you'd figure it out eventually. That's why he left you the breadcrumbs. And he trusted you to carry it forward," she whispered. "Not Lila, never Lila." As we drove home, I couldn't help but glance at the empty back seat in the rearview mirror, imagining someday sharing this car and these stories with children of my own. The Camaro had become more than a vehicle. It was a legacy, a time machine, a love letter from a father who couldn't say the words aloud. And I finally understood what Dad meant all those years ago. Some connections, like perfectly maintained engines, outlast everything, even death itself. If this story touched your heart, please consider leaving a like and following for more emotional stories that explore the complicated bonds between fathers and sons. Your support helps keep these memories alive. Thank you for being part of this journey.